very power-packed panel. I think people from the worlds of planning, regulation, academia, actual execution, technology, and whatnot. And I don't know, probably I'm the only one without a doctorate, or so I'm getting lost between professor, doctors, and whatever. I'll try to do justice to my job. I got a feedback that last time my introduction was too long, and audience would rather hear the panelists than hearing me. So I'll keep it very short. Campuses of the future which I believe is already here, thanks to NEP 2020. I think a lot is defined in NEP 2020 in terms of where we want to go, where we are in secondary school education, within that into basic elementary, and a lot is defined in secondary. Incidentally, I see school education more in spotlight, both in government forums, on independent forums, and also in terms of the way industry is talking about it. But I think when we talk about campus of future, the future belongs more to campuses for higher education. In which way higher education is shaping up, what these campuses contribute to. Are these campuses, as we talked about in the earlier session, merely brick and mortar building, or are these campuses a way to experience a culture, to experience a different kind of life, to undergo an experiential learning journey? So with that, I will start our panel discussion with Professor Rajive Kumar. Uh, Given the time we have, I think we'll try to do 2 rounds. I'm not too sure. But sir, feel free, because I think the first element which I'm going to ask you is going to be foundation of our discussion. How do you define the campus of future? What do you think are elements over there? Beyond technology. Of course, technology will come in over there, devices will come in over there, servers, software, everything will come in over there. Yeah. But when I say campus of future, what is it that comes to your mind? What are the basic tenets, basic elements over there?
Yeah, Vikas, you rightly said. As we all know that in last 2 years, the scenario in education has completely changed. We switched to online mode without any formal training. And now this is the time we can strengthen that part, training part to our teachers also. And a lot of companies, edtech companies, they came forward with the solutions which are helpful to our students, to our faculty members also. So in this direction, what I see, the future of the education in the country is that it is going to be a blended. Nobody can stop that. We have to have a blended education. Government has already permitted 40% courses through MOOCs, and this percentage with the passage of time is going to increase. It may be 50% or 60% in time to come. And as far as AICT is concerned, because I belong to the AICT, we started this modernization even before the pandemic. We have taken several decisions, and as far as providing education, multidisciplinary education to our students, as far as revision of the curriculum, making industry as a partner in all of the activities of our institution, whether it is curriculum development or other things, imparting internship, all such things we make not only mandatory, we facilitate it to our institutions, to our students in providing such facilities also by interacting with industry and the academia. So this is one part. Second is when we see the future is, now today we talk about the digital university, we talk about the multidisciplinary campus. So what in AICT we have done, in 2 years back, we came out with a scheme that is merging of the institutions, where we have institutions in different domains. We provided space that they can merge and they can come out as a multidisciplinary institution or institute. So, but that was limited only for the institutes under the same trust. Suppose a trust is running architecture, running pharmacy, running other type of institutions, so they can merge and they can come together. Also, what we have allowed 2 years back, that different courses, educational courses, they can be started in our engineering institutions. When I talk about engineering, it is engineering, management, arts and craft, and travel and tourism. All such things, they come under the engineering domain in technical education. So they can start a ordinary humanities college or arts college in the engineering campus. So these facilities we provided 3 years back to our institution. So we started working what is mentioned in the NEP 3 years back, before announcement of the NEP also. So these are the few initiatives we have taken at AICT, and many more initiatives are being taken by the government. Like you have heard the name as National Educational Technology Forum. Government has created the technology forum also. Professor Anil Sahasrabudhe, who was the chairman of the AICT, recently he has completed his tenure. He has been appointed the chairman of this National Educational Technology Forum, and this forum has started working. So government is very, very serious as far as taking all such initiatives forward in the education sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Professor Banerjee would request his inputs on the same subject. Before that, I just want to add here, IITs have been multidisciplinary for quite some time, offering education from technology to management. And sometimes I used to wonder what is Technology Institute doing in management education, but then linkages are very clear over there. Also, I think IITs, again, have been not only about education. IITs have a culture of their own. They have been something, I'll say, one of the foremost institutions offering experiential learning. People live together, people think together, they move in a certain direction. With that in view, sir, where do you think we are going to go next, given the background IITs carry and the emerging world of technology when we talk about immersive technologies to be used for education and for campuses?
Thank you. It's always difficult to visualize the future, right? So usually our visualization of the future is usually an extension of either the past or the present. When we think in terms of campuses of the future, very clearly, let me just step back a little bit and just say some of the things in terms of what are the goals and what is it that, for instance, in our institute, we have about 600 faculty and we have 12,000 students, but we are constrained by the physical infrastructure. So one of the things very clearly is that we want to increase our outreach. And this means that we will go with a number of different programs and we will be doing a number of things also in the digital and blended space. But to come back to the question of how the campuses of the future would be different, a lot of the learning in our educational institutions in IIT Delhi is from the overall experience of the campus. It is in the learning in the hostels, it is the learning in the activities that are there, it is the peer-to-peer learning. So very clearly, we have been forced in the last 2 years to explore we've moved, so, the institution, we created a facility where we innovated and tried to still do the same connections online. And so some of that learning is going to go forward. We will need to look at classrooms which enable peer-to-peer learning. So one of the things which may happen is that just like you have the design studios, or you have the format which is here, where each one has, you will have a projection, but you could also have on each table people who will be collaborating and doing this. So we'll reconfigure the classrooms. We will also have to ensure that in terms of technology, the entire campus has significant bandwidth, the issues of security, the possibility of streaming videos, two-way videos, and we should be able to also take care of large volumes of, and I think the fact remains that we do see that the physical infrastructure of having students staying on campus and also engaging with teachers and engaging with peers is going to continue. So I think the physical infrastructure of the campus, the classroom designs will change, but we will still be catering to students, and we do believe that the residential component is a very significant part of the IIT Delhi experience. So if we look forward, we think we would like to retain some of that. Even for the students who are going to be there in the digital mode, we would like to have some mechanisms by which they could participate in the sports, in the cultural activities, in the games, and this is another thing which may happen. There are other models that we have seen, which there is a model called 42 Abu Dhabi, and it's very interesting. It's a skill-based model where the company, it's free, and you learn coding over a period of 18 months. And it's free to everyone, so people come from different countries to Abu Dhabi, and you have classrooms 24/7 with computers, and there are no teachers, and the students come in. So there are a whole host of different models, and some of these could also be part of the, in our campus, we can blend some of these initiatives, and we are actually, we are currently exploring a new campus at Abu Dhabi, so this is another thing. During the pandemic and even before that, we were involved in a project across the IITs where we were creating virtual labs. So we have about 1,200 experiments set up across different engineering and science domains, which are available, where you can actually perform the lab experiment virtually. You can even control and look at, you can change, you'll get almost the same experience as running the lab. There are also a number of other initiatives. INSEAD has an initiative where they have an immersive classroom and virtual case studies. Again, this is something that we would like to, so if we look at an industry and an industry problem, the second best solution, the best solution is to have our students go there and actually work in that industry. The second best solution could be where we use the virtual reality and then try to see what is there. In our campus, that extension campus that we are creating in Jhajjar, we plan to look at healthcare, and in healthcare, we are actually trying to build personalized medicine and digital twins. It's an organoid facility where we have simulations of each organ, and then we will use it to see how you try different drugs and see what will happen. We can try it, rather than trying it on the patient, you'll be tried on the simulation. And so digital twins and simulation and exploration of this will also be part of the new campuses. I'd just like to make one word of caution. When we visualize everything and we simulate everything, that is good, but we should also encourage people to use their imagination, and not everything needs to be completely visualized. So often what happens is you give a concept and you try to get people to think that through, and you use that imagination. So there is a limit to having everything in terms of only the experience. So we should keep that blend. So I think it's an interesting question, and we would make a transition with our existing campus. We've already done the transition in terms of creating the infrastructure where we have a lot more of video and immersive experiences in our classroom, but we would also redesign some of our classroom. But we think that the university experience, the peer-to-peer learning, students coming and living together, working together on problems, and working also interfacing, looking at sports and cultural activities should continue. So that's my take on the campus of the future.
So thank you so much. I think you highlighted a very sound point, maintaining a right blend to make it interesting as well as making it appropriate. And let me take one more practical example on ground. Moving from one of the oldest institutions in India to one of the newest one on the scene, World Skills Center. We have with us Professor Gopal from World Skills Center, and would like you to share with us what thoughts went behind that. Why do you call it World Skills Center? Why not merely a skills center? How does justify that terminology over there? And when you were building this campus, what tenets, what basic elements you had in mind that this campus would be one of the campuses of the future?
Okay, thank you everyone. A very good afternoon. Let me address the first point raised, why World Skills Center. Today, the global stage, as far as skills is concerned, there's been a lot of catching up. India, whichever country you take, you know. And I guess one common factor here is the World Skills Competition, where you bring the best skilled from all over the world and put them on the same platform. So when this World Skills Center was conceptualized, it was very clear that we're not talking about just skilling people for Odisha or skilling people for India, but skilling people at the world skill level, you know, to match our youth with the skill levels that is expected across the globe. So that formed the basis of why we called it the World Skills Center, so that we can have a platform where we match up to the skills of anybody from anywhere across the globe. Now, this whole thing about this future campus thing at times worries me because I'm a practitioner. Right? And when you talk of skills training or technical and vocational education and training, there are three elements to it. One, of course, and one of the most important aspect of it is the skills itself. And then, of course, you have got the knowledge and the value part of the training as well. Now, when it comes to skills, it very much depends on how much of actual work you have done. I mean, let's take a simple example of, say, hairdressing. If I were to tell you that, you know, you go to a very renowned hairdressing salon, and we tell you that this particular hairdresser that you are going to sit and get your hair done has spent 5,000 hours on a simulator, right? How comfortable would you be going and sitting there and having your hair done by him or her, right? So we always want to have the confidence that the student has gone through actual hands-on training. So this is actually the dilemma that we are in, right? How much of it has got to be actually done on equipment, on the actual equipment, involving the actual work, and how much of it can be done on simulator. And this is one balance which I think is going to be with us for a long time, to strike the right balance. Now, when we talk of future campuses, I think we got to approach it in two aspects. One is the pedagogic approach. How do you deliver your skills training? And how much of part can information technology, new training methodologies like, you know, augmented reality, virtual reality, or mixed reality, how much of this can be infused into your pedagogic approach? The other thing itself is the nature of the courses that you're introducing in a technical and vocational institute. Where do you peg these at? At what level of technology? Do you want to peg it in line with the emerging technologies, in line with future technologies, or in some cases, in technology that has been outdated? Now, again, this is a very tricky situation because in TVET, the demand is actually driven by the industry. So you need to develop your programs that actually meets the industry's demand because your training need to translate into jobs. Now, if you pack your courses at a level which is very much higher than what the local industry is able to provide support in terms of jobs, then you get students who are overtrained but who are underemployed. Right? So they're not employed to the skills or to the level of skills which they were trained. Now, if you are on the other side and your technology level of training is below what the industry is practicing, then you lead to unemployment. So this is a fine balance that has to be very carefully treaded. So my take is these two areas where technology, you know, the future campuses, particularly in TVET area, will need to focus on the pedagogic approaches as well as to focus on the type of courses that they need to offer in terms of what is the current needs of the industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would like to invite Dr. Indrajit Bhattacharya now to share his views, having heard the first three panelists. What do you think are the changes that we need to do or we are planning to undertake into our various frameworks, accreditation frameworks, and associated things in order to move to what other three panelists alluded to and their definition of campus of future?
So, good afternoon, everybody. So I'd like to start off with a quote from Rabindranath Tagore. What he said is that highest education is not just assimilating information and information is the key word. It is to live in harmony with all existence. So I think what he could fathom at that point of time, 40 years before the internet came, was the blended learning approach, hybrid learning. So that is on a note here. I would like to introduce our organization, which is Quality Council of India, and we are under the Ministry of Commerce, and we have been formed 25 years back. So this is the 25th year, and we are in the space of third-party assessments and accreditation of institutions. So we have a couple of boards, which is the NABL, which is for the laboratories, which got very prevalent when you got your blood tested during the COVID period. All the labs in the country are accredited by NABL. We have another board, which is the NABH, the National Accreditation Board for Hospitals. Then we have a board for accrediting the conformity assessment bodies, NABCB. And we have NBQP, which is for quality promotion. And then we have special project groups for PAD division, which is for project analysis division, and project implementation division, as well as Z division, which is zero effect, zero defect division. Now, coming to my board, which is the National Accreditation Board for Education and Training, we accredit from K-12 segment, but the school segment, to the higher education segment. And our chairman is Mr. Adil Zainul Bhai, who is ex-MD of McKinsey, and he happens to be the chairman of CBC also, which is the Capacity Building Commission. And our Secretary General is Dr. R.P. Singh, who is the former Vice Chancellor of Sharda University. Now, coming to this Capacity Building Commission, at the highest level, there are 800 institutions which does training for civil servants. And that metrics has been executed by us, which has 8 pillars, out of which one pillar is digitalization. About 66 institutions are under accreditation currently. So from there on, it is on maturity assessment model. So going forward, during the pandemic, from the brick and mortar model, we had to shift to the looking at the blended learning approach. So a learning service provider maturity, conformity assessment framework was designed in the lines of ISO 21001, which is EOMS, Education Organization Management Systems, and ISO 29993, which is for LSP, so which is Learning Service Provider. So these two standards were put together, and this new standard was put in place, and which is in vogue today. Further going forward, we felt that there is a need, because there are so many nuances of online learning, and with the coming in of AI-driven edtech tools, currently if you see the net, there are 9,000 edtech tools which are there, and out of the 100 unicorns, there are 10 unicorns in the space of edtech. So you know how much of this is getting popular, and it is all outcome driven, because the VCs who have put in money on this have showcased how the outcome has enhanced. So going forward, we designed a framework, a 5-point framework. The first one was ITS, Intelligent Tutoring System, which is adaptive system and personalized learning. Second was EMIS, which is Education Management Information Systems, or CMIS, Campus Management Information Systems. The third one was RBL, which is Research-Based Learning, which allows the AI tool in research, which obviously is a focus for the NEP guidelines as well. And the fourth one was degree of automation, how much we want to automate this edtech tool for higher education systems. And the fifth and another important dimension was the trust, which has, again, 5 dimensions of IT security, accountability, transparency, and privacy. So we did a survey during the end of last year, which is 2021, and we found that the weightages of this should be 20% for first two, that is ITS and EMIS. The third one on the RBL, research-based learning, should be 30%, and the fourth and fifth one should be 15%. So this was the metrics, and we developed rubrics as well, and a lecture of this entire thing was hosted on the Chetna platform by UGC, which is there since last month. About 6,000 hits have been there. So we think that the National Accreditation Council, which is a part of NEP, should recommend this to take this framework so that this digitalization journey is pushed in the higher education space. Now coming to the what Mr. Vikas said on the how much immersive learning is going to happen next. This has already been spoken about the connectivity in the previous meeting which happened just now, in which the DG Ernst said about the connectivity framework. But I want to just say about a week back, Secretary Mighty said that coming month, October, 5G is going to launch. And with the 5G, the speeds will increase 100-fold. So, and the biggest beneficiary would be the medical segment and the education segment. So I'll just give you two use cases of 5G, which will bring in the AR, VR, MR, which is the augmented reality, the virtual reality, the mixed reality, and the extended reality. The extended reality is the framework of blockchain metaverse. So as soon as this comes into play, you can imagine that in the medical segment, getting a cadaver is very difficult. So here you would have a personalized learning with every individual having a three-dimensional cadaver, and with haptics, one can do exact cutting of the human body and see what is happening. So this is a revolutionary thing which is going to happen. And on the manufacturing industry space, I've already visualized this. This is already there in vogue. So a lot of it is going to change with the 5G coming in place. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your views. I'm tempted to ask now, on one part we're talking about campus of the future. On the other hand, we are saying a platform called FutureSkills, from campus to platform. So how do we navigate that, and what shape and form the platform is taking today? I think it started more as a marketplace. It was more about lifelong continuous learning. But in the changing paradigm, when we talk about campus of the future, we're talking about maybe some of the campuses imbibing what you started upon. How do you see the role of FutureSkills changing, one? Secondly, how do you use these technologies to their best effective use? How do you make these productive?
Thanks, Vikas, and I'll seek your indulgence in starting with a personal, anecdote, and then get to the questions you asked. So, I went to an engineering school 4 decades back in 1982, and when I read about this panel and I heard that Professor Banerjee is going to be there, my first instinct was fear, because that's how campuses used to be. And it is really heartening for me to hear him say that learning is holistic and it is as much in the hostels as it is in the classroom. And so most of what I learned was in the hostel, unfortunately to the dislike of my director. So with that, my sense of campus of the future is, we've talked about various things, physical, MOOC mode, online, and all of that. Trust me, COVID has taught us all of this. My 3-year-old nephew can shut his eyes and identify the mute button on the laptop, because he, ever since he's been doing classes. So all of this will happen. I think the most important thing, and for that, sir, we have to go to what you mentioned. To see the future, we have to go to the past. The past was about learning as a continuum. Learning was never a discrete entity. We have over the years created learning as discrete entities: college, classroom, hostel, mess, home, playground. All of these are discrete entities. To me, campus of the future will be one big continuum. Your home is as much a campus as your college. Your hostel is as much a campus as your classroom. And that, to me, will be one seminal change that will happen. And it'll happen by force of nature, even if we resist it. Because that is essentially where, things are headed. To your question, Vikas, on what we are doing in FutureSkill, I mean, Bhaskar did allude to it in his fireside chat. this is a platform that we've created, NASSCOM has created on demand of the industry, which is in collaboration with Ministry of IT. It is funded by Ministry of IT. Our mandate is to train almost 1.5 million students on new age technologies. We are almost at about 1 million students already on the platform. We've identified 10 cutting edge technologies which are relevant for the future. We're working very closely, incidentally, with Microsoft on this, and 10 new age, and this is what really excites me, professional skills, which are not necessarily cutting edge technology. So skills like, product management, project management, design and innovation. Now, it's surprising. I heard the word innovation being used thrice. I was actually making a count in the fireside chat between Serena and Bhaskar. And when we go to, a typical engineering school or a non-engineering school more so, this is a subject which is a specialization. I wonder why. You enter the work life, and the first thing your boss asks you is, are you being innovative? And when you go back to, your syllabus, nobody talked of innovation. Nobody talked of design thinking. I mean, design thinking, we ran a project at a school in Gurgaon where we tasked the children to, this is a school for, the underserved, to task them with, designing a good washroom for the girls in the school. And some of the things that they did was just mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. And we taught them design thinking principles before they got down to doing it. These are, mind you, class 8, class 9 students. So that's one part of it, how the campus will look like. In terms of digitization, it is inescapable. So FutureSkills, I mean, I was reading somewhere, Facebook has 62 million lines of code. You'll be shocked to hear how many lines of code a Tesla has. A Tesla has 2 Facebooks, 150 million lines of code. A typical smart car is about 100 million lines of code. So these are things which are becoming so embedded in our lives that we will have to therefore start looking at, content as a part of the overall continuum of education. Just 3 things, and I'll stop at that, because just 3 things that I think are extremely important beyond all this that everybody, especially K-12, needs to learn. Number 1, a sense of entrepreneurship, a very deep sense of entrepreneurship, irrespective of wherever you're going. That needs to be inculcated in schools. Number 2, innovation. That sense of asking the right questions, or even the wrong questions, but getting the right answers is very important. And the third very important thing, which we are missing with the entire education, content, is, except if you're doing a chartered accountancy or you're doing a master's in business, there's no financial, awareness. Class 1, class 2 students, I am advising a startup which is actually doing gaming on financial awareness with class 1, class 2 students. You'd be shocked at the kind of stuff they talk about regarding the stock markets. They are already talking gold ETFs. So it is there, but we just don't we've segmentized ourselves so strongly that, everything comes as a discrete entity and not as one big continuum. So I think that's where the change will be. It's inevitable and it will come, whether we like it or not.
Thank you so much. Very interesting. Thanks for sharing your views. And building upon FutureSkills and what you said, the objective is to train people into higher technology skills, but not only over there, also going beyond technology into life skills, if I may say. Skills which matter for employability, skills which matter for proper living, skills which matter in society today. But moving back to skilling on higher technology, let me invite Dr. Rohini to share her views. Why do you think it's important for students today to get exposure to higher technology, to start getting skills, developing skills into that? And associated question with that, in which direction is technology industry moving today? What are the new tools, new technologies being developed, which students today should be conscious about and they should start learning about?
Sure, thanks. So a couple of thoughts, just kind of adding up to the comments from my colleagues here. One, I think every sector of the economy is becoming more and more technology driven. I don't think we will argue with that. And technology as an enabler, as something that empowers, is a continuous is a continuous trend. So therefore, the implicit point I would make is that people coming out of schools need to not just, I would say, know technology from perspective of creating it, but be able to leverage technology to do their jobs. Let me give an example. Today, pretty much any sector of R&D is being more and more data-driven. If people coming out for a pharmacy or even in hospital management don't have a skills to understand data-driven decision-making, they are fundamentally not ready for the job market. So I think that is the first thing. But to me, I think it's not a question of going back to some of the earlier comments that were made. The way, as a technology company, we are thinking about the road ahead is how do we empower all the stakeholders in the education industry to do more? And let me talk about 3 I's. One, inclusion, we heard quite a bit about. Second is impact, outcomes. And third would be innovation that we were speaking about. And underlying all of this is the element of security. Let me talk about these 3 in a little bit detail. The point about inclusion is clearly about on the disability, on different abilities to learn, but also language. We talked about the fact that access to content, but again, let's look at the way learning is happening. It's not going to be about somebody comes to school and then learns, or college and learns. It is going to be about lifelong learning. Because we know of studies that are saying that skills that will be needed 10 years from today have not even been invented yet. So the way you're going to have people ready for those job markets, you are going to have lifelong learning. So I think the inclusion part in my mind is not as much about the campus, it's central on the student, on the learner, wherever the learner might be. The second point about impact, that is the ability to help teachers, ability to help education administrators to drive outcomes. And there is much happening. We spoke about students' ability to learn a particular skill. Now, haptic feedback with augmented reality is an interesting example of being able to learn surgery without actually having access to samples. Similarly, if you think about, there are many things happening in terms of using just QR codes to learn experiment, physics concepts, Newton's law, and various things in augmented reality. So many of those things are the way technology is able to be in the hands of people to drive better learning outcomes. The third is innovation. Look, at the end of the day, as a country, if we are going to become the IT capital of the world, or the center for innovation for multiple organizations around the world, and our own economy becoming more and more technology driven, we will have to drive innovation. And that means people not just students not just learning what they learn, but how to learn, how to think, how to solve problems. The last thing on security, which I will speak just a little bit about, is, look, if you are going to have campuses that are without a physical boundary, people anywhere, your perimeter of where you need to secure changes. And therefore, your ability to think about keeping information secure, whether it is personal data, whether it is people's health data, or even intellectual property of R&D institutions as they are developing new thinking, it needs you to think about security in a very different way, not as an afterthought. So to me, those 3 I's and being underpinned by cybersecurity becomes a standard way in which I would think about technology as an enabler for education.
Thanks, Rohini. Thank you so much. And as you rightly mentioned today, I think the education and participation is moving beyond the campus. So physical boundaries, physical walls don't apply anymore. And I think this is what Campus of Future actually signifies. How do we loop in more and more people into the education system? How do we train more and more people into a meaningful education which actually leads to employability, which leads to participation in society? And with that, we come to the end of our session today. Thank you so much to all my fellow panelists, and thank you to the audience. Thank you so much.